Originally forged as a vessel to wield and control the dark, destructive energies of entropy, Primus inadvertently created a conflicted being that would influence the path of Cybertronian history perhaps more than any other. Let's look at how he would use the energies to combat the forces of evil, but how they would also twist him into betraying his brothers and murdering his own love. Sound good? Good! Yes! Transformers: The Ultimate Guide detailed how the original plan was for him to oversee entropy and the cycle of destruction and regrowth that the universe needs to be healthy. Kind of like how after a forest fire, plants can often regrow stronger. But this had to be implemented in a controlled and restrained way, but somewhere along the line he became seduced by the power of destruction, following the thread all the way back to the god of destruction himself, Unicron, pledging him his fealty. He tried to sabotage Primus's body.
Sabotage.
But failed and fled back to Unicron before they were both sucked into a black hole and into unspace, where he resided until a space bridge accident weakened the barrier between realities and allowed him to escape. Straight away, he set about initiating the Unbinding to precipitate the return of Unicron, and spent years, if not millennia, subtly manipulating the Autobots and the Decepticons, causing them to splinter into multiple sub-factions that engaged in a constant series of escalating conflicts. He recruited Bludgeon, Bugly, and Mindwipe to kidnap 4 special Transformers with special sparks apparently, who would act as angles in the geometry of dissolution, whatever that means.
Technobabble.
These being Grimlock, Jetfire, who the Fallen swatted away like a couple of flies, before acquiring Blitzwing and Hotspot, we subdued equally as easily. They built this crazy infernal device before he started the obligatory monologue about his plan, explaining to his captives that they would be used to break the seal of Primus, after which all chaos would follow. The chaos he spoke of was glimpsed by Bludgeon at one stage in these visions, and it kind of looked like those flashes of hell from Event Horizon. It did not look fun at all. But basically, he started draining his captives of their life forces. Luckily, scientific genius Jetfire was able to contain the device in a force field that stopped the energies from escaping. Primus showed up and threw them back in the seal of Primus. He tried to steal Vector Sigma in the Japanese G1 continuity, but the supercomputer managed to change into Oracle mode and transfer its power to overdrive. To counter this, Megatronus summoned a bunch of minions and combined with them, and carved his way through the Autobots before Metroplex arrived to reinforce, with a whole load of trains, before Daniel Witwicky and co. kicked Vector Sigma like a football straight into the Fallen's face and vaporized the Fallen. Alright, let's do this!
Hey Google, pick a number between 0 and 202. Idiots! Pick a number between 0 and 202, please.
That was obviously my RoboSend Bumblebee giveaway, which was won by Shadow Goji. Massive congratulations! Now, I had to delay this one because of a little mishap that I had. Basically, RoboSend asked me to change a few things in the segment for the Galvatron vid, and after I reshot, Bumblebee decided to pancake flat on his face for absolutely no reason. The short version is that his gun broke, and it was kind of a pain to arrange a new one. Anyway, eventually RoboSend allowed me to buy a new one, and they assure me it is in the post. So as soon as that arrives, it'll be in the post to you. Congrats again, Shadow Goji. Well done. IDW's take on the character saw him start out as a humble wanderer, traveling the barren wastelands under Onyx Prime, until a chance encounter with Shockwave, after he'd been flung back through time, saw Shockwave kill Onyx and take his body parts and his armor as his own.
Everything.
Stepping into his shoes to steer the course of history as he saw fit. He took the Nomad under his wing.
Come with me, you underbite-having dunce.
Okay. And rechristened him Megatronus, teaching him the ways of conquest and the hunger to rule. And so he started expanding the territory of the Badlands. As I said in my Galvatron vid, he added twins Galvatron and his twin sister RC to his ranks after killing their cruel prime Septimus, and together they battled aside Liege Maximo. And generally carved a swathe of destruction right across Cybertron. Now, Onyx Prime, Shockwave of course, used the Cybertronians' fear of the Darklanders to unite the remaining Cybertronians under his banner, and led them against the Darklanders before meeting with Megatronus and uniting the opposing forces, and therefore uniting the whole of Cybertron as one for the first time ever, and ushering in the era of the IDW Primes. This would in turn lead to an expansion of the Empire, and Megatronus was key in a bloody war between Cybertron and the Empire of Antilla, which led an Antillan scientist to choose to destroy his own planet with a WMD called the Talisman, rather than let it fall into Cybertronian hands. Primer blamed Megatronus and his aggressive tactics for this outcome, and fueled by manipulative talking by Liege Maximo, the two began plotting to overthrow Primer. The whole thing escalated, and when it reached a head, it was Solus who came between Primer and Megatronus, with him stabbing her through the abdomen with his Star Saber. I went into more detail in this on my video on the most horrific deeds of the Primes, by the way. I don't know, maybe you should check that out. But this event saw the collapse of the Fellowship of the Primes, and their followers descended into infighting once again. And as Megatronus fled the planet, the start of the first Cybertronian civil war. After searching for him for years, Alpha Trion, Primer, and Onyx finally found him, seeking to bring him to justice. And this is where Megatronus showed just how powerful he really was, fairly easily cutting Primer in half, but Onyx used his past connection with his prior student to cause a moment of hesitation before he managed to kill him. His last words to him being, "You were never more than a means to an end." He was later seen carrying his head. Right here is where I'd normally talk about the Covenant of Primus, but that overlaps and is the root of so much of the other stuff. Plus, it's bloody hard for me to illustrate because it's a text story. But one of the ones that it inspired was Power of the Primes. He helped destroy Unicron with his big boomstick, the Requiem Blaster.
But what do with Big Boom Boom?
Put somewhere safe, big boy.
No, me want more Big Boom Boom.
I disagree, big boy. Obviously, I'm joking. They were in love, and his blasting of her was completely accidental. So the other Primes took back the blaster from Megatronus, sealing it away, and he placed himself into exile until he could find a way to reunite with his deceased love. He then recruited Overlord and guided him to the Matrix of Chaos within Unicron's remains, using it on Hot Rod to create Rodimus Kron. He wrecked up Victorion's arm with fire when she tried to nab the Enigma of Combination. Then he wafted Fort Max away like a subtle fart before killing Optimus. Searching for the Requiem again, he burned a bunch of places to the ground upon finding the blaster wasn't there. He collected the sparks of all of Overlord's and Rodimus' Kron's victims, and then used those souls to build a spark extractor type device. Once he activated that, Solus rose from the dead to give him a good telling off. He shot Windblade out of the sky, before just burning every motherfucker and making them make noises like, before being stopped by Rodimus Kron, now a full-blown embodiment of Unicron and Randy Savage. And therefore, of course, mad hellbent on killing all the Primes and destroying the Matrix, before Megatronus ripped off Predaking's head, forcing Megatron to say a dirty, dirty S-word, before he was finally dragged into the Well of Sparks by Solus. In the movieverse, he renounced the Prime's oath to never destroy a world with life. He traveled from world to world, annihilating life and stripping planets of their resources. Now, we don't know how many times he did this, but the casualties must have been in the quadrillions. He, of course, attempted genocide on a planetary scale in Revenge of the Fallen, trying to kill all us savage monkeys by destroying our sun and milking its juicy energies. Of course, he betrayed and killed his Prime brothers, first betraying their oath to protect all life, then viciously slaying them one by one.
Fratricide.
He indoctrinated Megatron and founded the Decepticons, which of course led to millennia of war, death, and planetary devastation, making the Fallen a root cause of countless atrocities. He killed human military personnel with teleporting and telekinesis, showing how easily he could lift several tanks and other military equipment. He hijacked Earth's global communication system to threaten planetary destruction, unless Sam Witwicky was handed over. Oh, and he also dispatched the Seekers to find the Matrix, and later abandoned them when they failed. He also cut short Optimus' big dramatic revival moment. The movie comics went into a little bit more detail about how he traveled from world to world, slaughtering life forms and assimilating their technology, leaving dead husks behind in his wake. Again, he murdered the other Primes, but also the comics told about how he lied to Jetfire so he would help harvest energy from inhabited star systems, causing unknown loss of life. He built a fake Matrix to power a personal star harvester, which exploded and gave him terrible new powers. And he claimed to be the Allspark's chosen one, and let this belief fuel his megalomania. 2015 RID just ran the old generic badguy.exe and kind of forgot that it was connected to the Transformers Prime continuity and the Covenant of Primus and all that stuff, so I just think of it as a fresh, new character. 2015 RID again told about how he killed Solus in a moment of unhinged rage and tried to merge the anti-spark of Unicron with the Allspark, which would annihilate both planets. It was him that caused the prisoner ship Alchemore to crash land on Earth, releasing a ton of dangerous criminals into the squishy human population. But he also tricked Steeljaw into helping him escape his prison by promising Earth as a reward, without disclosing that he planned to destroy the planet. He used telekinesis to torture Clampdown and intimidate Steeljaw into obedience, even though he was just appearing as a disembodied fucking hologram. How? The other bots are like, yo, Clampdown, what happened to your arm? Clampdown just breaks down crying. He's like, angry fucking floating hologram. He tried to drill Optimus's face. Then spun Gridlock around like a ragdoll. Get dizzy. He slashed Optimus. Threw Steeljaw aside, threw him to off County right here. Unleashed an ungodly amount of firepower on the Autobots in tank mode. Bumblebee got sent to off County before nearly succeeding in his plan to destroy the Earth. Yeah, he was only stopped by a combined assault by all of the Autobots and all of their power-ups, and being crushed by the arm of this Temu Statue of Liberty right here. Oh no, wait, he back? Probably because, like all things Temu, it was cheaply made and inferior quality, and made of some kind of dubious spitball papier-mâché. Like I bought 100 pairs of socks the other day from Temu, papier-mâché, before finally being vaporized by a powered-up blast from 3 Autobots and their Decepticon Hunter upgrades.
Megatronus Prime.
Transformers 1 tweaked the story, and instead of Unicron, the Primes were fighting the oppressive Grab people. Megatronus being the most powerful of the Primes, and one seemingly that was a more honorable version of the character than all the other incarnations. The Primes were led into an ambush by Sentinel, and Megatronus was instrumental in fighting the Quintesson Horde back. And because of this, they nearly fought their way out, until being coldly backstabbed by Sentinel, who mercilessly beheaded Megatronus. Sentinel took Megatronus' T-Cog, which gave him the raw physical power of the Prime. Megatronus was remembered as a hero for a change, even having his own merch, including these stickers based on his face, which would of course become the Decepticon insignia. D16 managed to overthrow Sentinel, and by overthrow I mean rip him the f*** in half, and took Megatronus' T-Cog as his own, and it gave him the means and weaponry to embark on his rageful crusade. I do find it interesting that the Primes appeared to Orion as they chose him to carry the Matrix in a scene that sort of insinuates that Megatronus endorsed Orion, and therefore probably didn't approve of D16's course of action. Now, the way that I see it is that there was always a struggle going on inside Megatronus from the moment of his creation by Primus. On one hand, he was created as a force for good, yet tasked with containing energies so dark and seductive that they would be hard for any being to resist. And therefore, he was probably doomed from the start. The whole thing makes me wonder if the TF1 version of the character would have gone down the same road had Sentinel not betrayed the Primes. I think he probably would have. And yeah, okay, feels weird to do a shorter video, kind of nice actually. By the time you're seeing this, hopefully I'll be well into my Grimlock video. It does feel like kind of a waste to put it out now that interest in Transformers seems to be at an all-time low, but hey, what the hell. Before I put that one out though, I might also drop a couple of vids on slightly semi-related topics, like still in the same vein. Well, I might as well tell you, I'm going to talk about where the comics are getting too violent. Starting off with Transformers and then looking at the wider world of comics and sort of organically seeing where it goes. Like whether they're going too far, why they're taking it that far, highlighting some of the worst shit that I've seen in comics, not just in Transformers, but in Marvel and DC, other stuff too. So stay tuned for all that. Get in the comments and let me know if there's anything you want to see, and I will see you very soon for the next one. Cheerio, bye.